Welcome into the 11 Alive Plus bonus politics panel. If you saw us on the Georgia vote, this is an extension of that conversation. Joining us today, Mark Roundtree, Republican strategist, Maria Andrade, Democratic strategist, Rahul Bali, WABE reporter, and a veteran of covering all sorts of Georgia campaigns and elections. And Rahul, let's start with you, because there's one big, let's put air quotes and we can come back around it, but a lot of attention getting statewide race. That's the PSC race. There are many, many, many municipal races on the ballot in November. Which ones are standing out to you?
Atlanta City Council president. I mean, they only have a few responsibilities, but it really is showing a separation of the future of Atlanta politics. You know, a current city council member, Marcy Collier Overstreet, you know, the Atlanta way, backed by Andre Dickens, and then Rohit Malhotra, really trying to go a different direction on the future of Atlanta. I think Sandy Springs mayor race, you know, I was at that debate. That's a really, and that race has gotten chippy. There are other great, South Fulton, Marietta. There are so many interesting and great races around just Atlanta Metro, not just here, but also outside of Atlanta. There's some interesting mayor's races.
And we are all people who pay close attention to these things. Maria and Mark, I want to bring you both in from a strategist's perspective. We're clearly paying close attention to these races, but in an off-cycle year, Maria, how hard is it to get voters to actually go and cast a ballot? I feel like we hear about low turnout affairs in these off-cycle sessions.
Absolutely. I think what's happening right now in a lot of our municipal races is a microcosm of what's happening at the national level. And I think voters, what they really want to see is authenticity and relatability. And I think that in terms of turnout, what all these candidates need to do from a strategic perspective is ensure that they're putting their head down fundraising and not spending the money on anything other than direct voter contact and showing their authentic message out to voters.
Mark, do you agree with that? And then, too, tell me the races you're looking at right now.
Well, I think the North Fulton area has become actually sort of the Donnybrook of the area. I am personally, maybe because I'm an OTP person outside the perimeter, I'm less interested in the Atlanta races myself because it just looks to me like there's just not that much interest locally either. I think there's a lot more interest locally in Roswell, Alpharetta, Johns Creek, where the mayors of a lot of the North Fulton area are all in some trouble. There's a lot of conflict in the area. So
in the sense that you feel like the incumbents
could be beat.
Legit, serious challengers.
Could potentially be beat. Kelly Stewart is running against John Bradbury in Johns Creek, my own hometown, and that has proven to be quite a battle. They're also fighting over a proposed performance theater, a large theater, $100 million theater that has kind of been controversial. Roswell has a significant election going on. There's all kinds of coalitions being built there. And Rusty Paul in Sandy Springs, the incumbent there, I think he will get reelected, but that has turned into quite a battle as well. So these North Fulton area candidates are really active, I think, more so than most of the rest of Metro Atlanta.
Maria, I want to go back to one thing you said. You said the candidates that are going to win are the ones that are putting their heads down and focusing on maximizing every dollar they bring in. I wonder, and I want to ask you both this, I wonder if sometimes you advise clients who say, hey, I want to run for office, and they have this image in their head of soaring rhetoric and big crowds and big speeches, and you say, that may come down the line, but first, we got to do some brass tacks work. Does that ever happen?
It does, and the funny thing is that one of the first advice I give to folks is hold on to your money, don't spend it immediately. So, a lot of people will fundraise, and as soon as they launch, they want to start spending on yard signs, they want to start spending all these different things. And I'm like, hold on, please, I promise you'll get to do these fun things, these, things that kind of what you pictured in your head when you decided to run. But for now, focus on fundraising because that's the one thing that's going to fuel your campaign.
Even in
one way you can
even in a smaller municipal race.
Absolutely.
And Rahul, do you see that as well when you cover these races, that every dollar goes a long way, even at the municipal level?
You see that on local. I think a perfect example, and not just municipal, but even like state house race and state senate races.
That have gotten much more expensive in recent cycles too.
They have, but you saw Governor Kemp getting involved in a handful of races last year, and you're probably going to see when we see the final filings coming out of these municipal races. It's going to be interesting to see who got involved in some of these races.
Let's, Mark, bring you in. You got a thought here, and then I want to shift gears to the gubernatorial primaries here, but go ahead.
The type of spending is going to change as we get closer to the election, because if you're looking at candidates who have spent, as she's saying a little, if they've spent too aggressively early, they're making big budget cuts at the end. That comes out of mail, that comes out of cable television, some of the bigger expenses for the municipal candidates. And what they usually end up going toward are digital ads on various social media platforms and texting, because those things can be done extremely cheaply. People really don't know that they are literally being targeted to the person on texting and Facebook when they're being, or Instagram or whatever they're on. They're being targeted to the person. The people who are advertising to you are fully aware that you have not voted yet and that you have a propensity to vote for the candidate that is advocating to you.
Can we, I want to move on, but I think we've got to park on this for a second here. Maria and Rahul, I saw you both nodding your heads. There are going to be people who hear what you said, Mark, and they're going to think, I'm a little alarmed by that.
If you want to shut it off, if you get tired of that, just go ahead and early vote, and you will get cut out of most texting and most of the ads.
That's spoken like a political professional here.
The data managers will cut you out.
Maria, for somebody who has no familiarity with this, how are these lists built? And to somebody who might say, well, I'm a little alarmed that you are able to know so much about me, demystify this for us.
Yeah, absolutely. So this all comes from the voter file, and actually a funny thing that you say is go vote early, and I second that 1,000%. But funny thing is that my husband and I try to wait to vote a little bit so we still get all the political mail and all the political ads, because we love to see what's out there.
And it's a little bit of intel, right? You can see what the other guys are doing.
Exactly. No, but yeah, it's coming from the voter file. You're absolutely right. It can be very targeted and very, it can be very detailed. But like you said at the beginning, it is really important to make sure that you're saving your budget to the end, because otherwise you're going to have to make cuts. Mail, direct vote, these ways to communicate to voters and show who you are really going to get cut for, earlier expenses.
And you probably don't want to be losing steam right at the end as you're approaching the finish line. Rahul, let's talk. We've got about 90 seconds left here, but we would be remiss if we didn't talk about this gubernatorial race in the primary. If you watched the Georgia vote, you saw Faith Jesse's interview with Shanette Williams, the mother of Amber Thurman. Shanette Williams is an endorser of now former state senator Jason Estevez. Her endorsement comes on the heels of Jason Carter's endorsement of Jason Estevez. In the scheme of things, how much do endorsements like this move the needle for a candidate like Estevez?
It will move the needle when you have a lot of candidates in a race. In this, for this example, is Democrats are going to be looking in that case, or Republicans, to move just enough votes to get them to a runoff, because these are such big fields.
Does this race, when you say you need a lot of candidates in the field, does this gubernatorial primary with, roughly a half dozen serious contenders, does that, in your view, count as a lot?
In my book, it's a lot, because you're trying to get to the runoff. That's what's happening here. You're trying to get to the runoff. Do endorsements move the needle in a very big way? Once in a while, you've seen Donald Trump. We've seen move the needle, in races without an incumbent. But yeah, you're hoping some story that the endorsement of Shanette Williams will move somebody to vote for Jason Estevez.
We've got 60 seconds left. I want to give 20 seconds to each of you. Maria, let's start here. The road from now just to the end of this year. If you're advising a gubernatorial candidate, what are you telling them they've got to be doing over these next roughly 3 months?
They got to be talking to folks. They have to be on the ground, making sure that they're listening to people and making sure that they are reflecting what they're hearing on the ground.
Mark, same question to you. The playbook for the next 3 months is what for the eventual winner?
Finding a visceral issue. Burt Jones, for example, has found eliminating the income tax and is aggressively running on that. Finding an issue like that and then fundraising based on it. It's not endorsements. That's a big mistake. Endorsements don't work other than the few people who personally know the endorser. And these candidates all get trapped up in who's endorsing who. They don't work anymore. They worked 40 years ago when there was not basically a social media to guide people. And today they have very little impact.
We will see, though, because that theory is going to be tested again in this primary. Guys, as always, thank you so much. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.